and we want to welcome you to the Connection Series. We have the amazing privilege of being here with Larry Hagner today. He is the founder of the Dad Edge Alliance, and I'm going to get more into Larry's, background and his bio and his story. But first of all, Larry, welcome to the Connection Series.
Oh man, thanks for having me. This is super cool. I'm excited to do this.
Okay, so we're going to jump just right in to the deep end of the swimming pool, Larry, and then we'll come back and backfill a little bit. So this is the Connection Series. The purpose is all around helping families be more connected than they've ever been. If you had one piece of advice right now, and you had to boil it down to one quick nugget of what families could do to be more connected right now, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Well, I think this particular time, day and age right now with quarantine, COVID, is there a pandemic? Maybe. Yeah. So yeah, right now, what I think you're probably seeing out there is, so I'll talk about a couple things we planned for, maybe even a nugget that we didn't. One is right now you're seeing people more isolated than ever before. And men are actually really, really good at this, by the way, right? They're like, I'm the lone wolf, right? Lone wolf is strong and stoic, and I can handle anything if I'm the lone wolf. Spoiler alert, the lone wolf dies. The lone wolf, I'm not kidding. Like, the lone wolf has lost the pack, and now he's going to die because he lost the pack, or he's left the pack because he's going to go die. Either way, not a happy ending. So sorry, guys. Spoiler alert. All you guys be like, I'm the lone wolf. No, it didn't work out well for you. So right now, we're probably seeing more than ever. Men probably retreat into the shadows of isolation. Now, let me just explain this really quick, okay? Because I think when men are extreme, and people are extreme anyway. So like when we think of isolation, we think of someone who's like in their master bedroom closet, curled up in the fetal position. Hey, I don't want to talk to anyone, right? But that's not the case. Most of us who are living isolated, we're surrounded by people constantly in the workplace, cubicles, blue collar workers, like, everywhere, right? You go to a coffee shop, it's packed. People are, what do? They're like all up in there. I don't talk to anyone, right? So, no one talks to anybody. No one socializes necessarily in a profound way. And if we do, it's the same five surface level things we talk about: the news, weather, what my kids do on the weekend, what I do for a living. Everything's good and fine and good. And I think that's wrong. That's destructive, right? So isolation is the enemy of excellence. So if you're living isolated, where you're physically surrounded by people, but mentally and emotionally, you're not having deeper conversations of what it means to be a better husband, a better man, better father, better human being. If you're a mother listening to this, they're just better at forming relationships than men are. They're more, I would say, more vulnerable and willing to be more vulnerable. Actually, do you guys want to hear kind of a funny observation? And you won't be able to help but notice this the next time you're all together with a bunch of couples. Have you guys ever been? How many kids y'all have? Five?
I don't know if I told you that. Yeah.
I don't think you did.
And you have four, right?
I have four. Yeah. And they're 4 boys. And
that's awesome.
How many boys, girls do you guys have?
3 boys, 2 girls.
Okay. So yeah, raising 4 boys, 3 boys. I always say it's like raising a house full of drunk people that never leave, never sleep. They eat all your food and pee on your walls. Like, that's raising boys for you. But if you ever want to see a really funny experiment, go to one of your kids' friends' birthday parties where the parents are there, right? You'll see women talking, and you'll see them interacting, and you'll see them facing each other, and you'll see them using positive body language, open body language. There's different vocal tones when they're excited and when they're stressed out. So it's like, hey, and they're animated, right? They're excited to communicate. And what do men do? Men will stand there with whatever beverage of choice that they have in front of their chest. They stand shoulder to shoulder. And not to say that you should stand face to face and talk to a man. That's super awkward too. But they'll stand shoulder to shoulder. Hey man, like, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Fine. Okay. Yeah. What do you do for a living? Oh, I drive an 18-wheeler. I'm a data software engineer. Cool. Did you see the game last week? Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. I was really happy my team won. I'm going to go eat more cake. You know what I mean? Like those are the deep level conversations that dudes have. And even our body language, it's like, I'm guarded. I don't talk. I'm isolated. I'm the lone wolf. Right. And I'm not saying that men have to be all up in each other's faces. That's the wrong approach. But I think you can have better conversations with men. You can have better conversations with people so that you're interacting on a more profound level. So you're not living so isolated. Again, physically surrounded by people, but not necessarily there's no deeper talk beyond a few of those things. Right. So, making good, deep friendships is key, I think, especially when you're raising 5 kids for you guys, 4 for me, but it doesn't really matter. Most parents live pretty isolated, and that's too bad, because we all have expertise, we all have experiences, we all have strengths, and we can actually help each other if we share in those.
It's amazing. Yeah, thank you. So for those of you who are just watching, I know we have some people that have been watching from the beginning, some people that just tuned in live. We have Larry Hagner here. He is the founder of the Dad Edge Alliance. He wrote an incredible book called The Dad Edge, which is a community to support fathers. And, probably I'm guessing one of the things to support the men is not being self-isolated. And I love that idea that self-isolation is the enemy of excellence. And so if you're watching this and you just tuned in, I would invite you to start a watch party on your page, because Larry's already shared some really impactful things that he's going to continue to share. So start a watch party on your page. The reason we're doing the connection series is to help families be more connected. And a lot of times, in order for families to be more connected, individuals in the family have to be connected. And so, like, in Larry's case, dads with other dads. And if you guys want to, see more amazing interviews like this, go to the Family Brand page and like our page. Go to Facebook and search Family Brand Community and join our community, our Facebook group. We have a gift for you, a course that we created. And so, yeah, we need help saving more families, which is why we have amazing people like Larry on, because our mission is to help families plant their family's flag and create their family's brand. So when you say that self-isolation is the enemy of excellence, Larry, like, what's excellence to you? Like, how do you unpack and define excellence with dads? And I guess it would apply to anyone, really.
Yeah. It's never making mistakes and living life flawlessly. It's actually the opposite. How quickly can we fail faster to learn better and to learn more? So how do we know we're operating at excellence, right? It's literally impossible sometimes for us to judge that, because we are emotionally vested into whatever our situation is, right? And sometimes we tell ourselves stories of why we're operating the way that we are, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, right?
Right.
So the way to really have people, the way to really ensure that you are operating within excellence is to have a board of advisors, to have people who have your best interest in mind. And they have an objective relationship with you. In other words, they care about you, they're friends with you. However, they're not going to yes sir you and that's great and that's awesome. They're going to be like, hey man, like, you said this about your wife, and I know that particular relationship is really important to you. I just want to call out a couple of things. Like, how are you communicating with her? How often are you guys going out on date nights? Like, what's the friendship like with your particular relationship? How about your self-care? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you exercising? Are you feeding your brain with good things and not really poor things? So whenever you can actually give like an update, right? To where like, hey, I'm really trying to get my arms wrapped around my health right now. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm 5:30. I'm in the gym. By 6:30, I'm at home. I'm writing gratitude. I'm into my devotional. I am getting my mind right for the day. Is there anything I'm missing? And when your board of advisors, your trusted advisors, man, that is great. That's living within excellence. And if I could take that a step forward, what I would encourage you to do is when you take your son to school, ask him what he is looking forward to most in that day. That way, you're going to spark an amazing conversation with him. You're going to get him forward thinking about his day and maybe even into gratitude and excitement. But having a really good conversation to add to that already amazing morning routine, that's what you need to be doing. So having a point in the right direction, having somebody validate, hey, this is where I want to go. These are the things that I'm doing. Hold me accountable to that. And is there anything that I'm missing? And then allowing that man, that trusted board of advisor, to direct you. And you can take what you want, leave the rest. but you know that resonates. You know that makes sense. You know, it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a good conversation with my 14-year-old. And that's what it's going to start with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd love to ask, if someone's coming from being the lone wolf that you described earlier and maybe looking to create a board of advisors, how would you suggest that they go about doing that?
Well, and before you answer that, Larry, if you guys are watching this right now, and I want you to tag someone in the comments that you want to have as part of your board of advisors. Because what I hear in that is like accountability and and what I hear in that is intentionality. Like this idea of excellence, and that's a word we use a lot with Family Brand, is like, look, you can intentionally create your brand of your family and the culture. And so, yeah, if you're watching this, start a watch party, first of all, so we can reach more families. Second, tag someone that you would love to have as part of your board of advisors. But yeah, to Melissa's question of like, where does someone start with that? And well, yeah, answer that. And I have another question about the Dad Edge Alliance.
We could probably, so this is going to sound self-serving and I don't mean it to, but what I would tell you is that your old college buddies that you drink beer with, that's not your board of advisors. It's just not. Okay.
Right.
If you want a board of advisors, I've been a part of masterminds myself since 2015. I have been lucky and humbled and privileged to sit at the table of masterminds with men who are operating at a very high level. And what does that make me do? Well, I want to operate right along with them. It goes back to, and I don't mean this to be financially based, but it's one thing that I can't help but compare it to. So if you want to make $1 million, hang out with a billionaire. Don't hang out with a millionaire, hang out with a billionaire, because they're going to get you, they're going to allow you to, they're going to teach you and educate you the tactics, the techniques, the behaviors to get to that level. Here's a perfect example. I took my 12-year-old out to dinner last night. It was the first dinner we've had since this whole quarantine, right? And he plays football. And my 12-year-old, he's not the worst kid on the team. He's not the best. He's literally right there in the middle. Like, he is a good athlete and he's good. He enjoys it. And the biggest thing is that he wants to have fun. And there's this carve out of kids on his team. It's called the 7-on-7. And these kids play year round and they kind of travel. And we were just talking about his upcoming football season and what's most important to him. And he's like, I really want to be faster. Yeah, I want to tackle harder. I want to hit harder. And I was like, well, how might you do those things? And he's like, I really need to see if I can get on that 7-on-7 team that, a few of my friends are on. I was like, well, what's preventing you? And he took a deep breath. He's like, well, I feel like when I play on the team, I'm one of the good players, but I feel like if I'm on that 7-on-7 team, I'm gonna be one of the bad players. So I don't want to be one of the bad players. And it scares me. And I was like, why? So first of all, I congratulated him. I'm like, dude, you're 12. And that's awesome. Like, the fact that you can think about that, articulate that, say that out loud, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, but think of it this way. What do you think 6 months working with those kids 7-on-7 is going to do for you? Right now you feel that they're playing here, you're playing here. If you're playing with them, what choices do you have to hang with them? He's like, I got to play up. I was like, you got to play up. I was like, and guess what? The harder you play up, the more they're going to want to play up with you. And here's one other example. I always love to hang out with people who are smarter than me, faster than me, wealthier than me, all those things. I'm okay with that. One of my best friends is my son's football coach, and he's in great shape. He's 10 years younger than me, and he's fast. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we meet at this ridiculous 35% grade hill that's probably 30 yards, and we run these hills for 1.5 miles. Oh
my gosh.
And my son started coming with me, and I was like, listen, Mason, I was like, when was the last time you saw me beat Vito up that hill? He was like, I think it's been like once. I was like, yeah. And how many laps do we do? Like probably 25? He's like, yeah. I was like, why do you think I run with Vito? And he's like, to be faster. I was like, I want to run with somebody who's faster than me, because if I'm constantly the one in the lead, I'm not going to push as hard as I will, because I know that person behind me isn't going to be pushing me. It's the person in front of me. And I was like, so that's what that 7-on-7 will do. And that goes back to being fathers and parents and all that stuff. So if you want to be operating within excellence, be at the table of people who are operating at a higher level than you. There's no way to learn faster than to do that, without a doubt. Anything we do, whether it be our finances, our marriage, parenting, our jobs, whether you're in sales, whatever, hang out with people better than you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I know I'm just thinking in terms of myself. I'm like, sometimes it feels like scary. Like, this is what I would run through my head. I'd be like, I might say something wrong. I might be embarrassed, or I might do all these things. But I like how what you said earlier, the fastest way to like failure is the way that you get better and improve. So I love what you're saying.
Yeah. So again, if you guys are just start tuning in and watching this with Larry Hagner, founder of the Dad Edge Alliance. And so Larry, how did you come up with it? Because that's essentially what you've created with the Dad Edge Alliance. You've created an opportunity and a way for fathers to hang out with people that are, better than them in some areas. And they're better than those other fathers. And like, I hate to use the analogy because it's so obvious, but the rising tide, raises all boats. But like, what led you to say, man, because I'm guessing that part of you selfishly created the Dad Edge Alliance so that you could benefit from it as much as the fathers that you. So like, what had you say like, man, this is what I want to go do?
Yeah. Y'all remember the commercial, the hair club for men guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only am I the president and founder, but I'm also a client. Like, right. And he's got this full head of hair. Right. Which by the way, like
awesome.
My COVID hair, dude, it's like out of control right now. But yeah. So founder, chief facilitator, host of the Dad Edge podcast. I always say being a host of the Dad Edge podcast, it's been around for 5 years now and over 500 episodes. I get a front row seat in the classroom every single week. I get to talk to people way smarter than me, which is so cool, very humbling at the same time. In 2015, I joined my very first mastermind with one of the best mentors of my entire life, and that's Aaron Walker, who has founded View from the Top, ISI, Iron Sharpens Iron. I did that mastermind for a long time. I did that mastermind because I wanted to take Dad Edge somewhere. I just had no clue what it was going to look like. At first thought, I was like, I guess I'll just keep writing a lot of books, but I didn't really like writing all that much. And I was like, well, I guess I could podcast, but I'm not really sure what that's going to lead to. And when I was in this mastermind, I was like, oh my gosh, like everything in my life started changing. The way I communicated with my wife started changing. The way I had more patience with my kids started changing. The way I looked at money management changed. The way I looked at my own health, my emotional, mental, spiritual, physical health, everything changed. And I felt like, kind of like how when I meet my friend Vito every 3 days a week, I felt like I constantly had to chase these guys who were operating above me. And I loved it because I was like, how much more can I learn? How much more can I learn? This is outstanding. Right. So then I had a heart to heart with Aaron one day and I was like, hey man, like I love this mastermind thing. I was like, but I'm really trying to get some direction with where to take Dad Edge. Like, I have no clue what to do. Everything else is going good, but I'm not getting that. He's like, really, you're not? And I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, Larry, build what we're doing for dads. He's like, take exactly what we have done and go do it for dads. And I was like, well, that's a really good idea. So we did. And I reached out to 10 guys and I was like, hey, starting a mastermind. I just come and join it. Here's the price. It was really low at the time. I was like, and just tell me what you think. It's a 3-month thing. What we found is those men would, same thing as me, but they would elevate. Everything in their life would elevate. Well, then at the end of 3 months, they're like, well, dude, now what? What am I supposed to do now? I was like, I don't know, do the same mastermind again with same curriculum over and over again. We had guys coming back 2 and 3 and 4 times and they do this same curriculum. So then we were like, we got to change this. So now we have created it. We have over 400 men that we serve and it's an ongoing thing. It never stops. I mean, men come and go, but it never stops. And what we do is we focus on one agenda every single month. Like kind of like right now we're going through anger resolution and patience. That's what we're teaching our guys right now. And they are loving it. But that's half the mastermind. But the other half is to give them time and space to ask questions of each other. Because right now, I mean, every man is facing some sort of adversity at some point. It's either in their marriage, their parenting, their money, or whatever else. You got to give men time and space to ask questions of each other. And that's exactly what we do too. So it's a 2-part type of skill set. This is what we teach, and whatever's going on in your life, we're going to sharpen that too. But that's how we did it. And yes, one of the greatest things about being the chief facilitator of that mastermind is I get to learn something new every day from these guys. And it's
That's amazing. Why do you think men in particular, like, why do they struggle so much with self-isolation? Like, why is the natural thing not to collaborate and be in a mastermind and join other dads? Part one. And then two, let's say I'm not ready to jump into a mastermind yet, but I want to like start to like not be in so much self. Like, what are some simple things I could do?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I love talking about this. So yeah, what I have found, so we have an application process that guys apply. It just allows me to get a gauge of what's going on with them, before I talk to them face to face and before they join. What I can tell you is the perception is these guys are awesome and I suck. It's this overwhelming feeling of I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough yet. This is no kidding around. No kidding around. This happened today. I had a guy apply. I'll actually read this to you because if I read it to you, it's even better. I had a guy apply and I sent him a text. I was like, hey, I got your application. Here's my calendar. Let's schedule a time. He had a few days to think about it. He didn't schedule any time. Hey, thanks so much for reaching out. You're doing great things and you're an inspiration. I have to shake off a couple of bad habits before I can move forward with anything. And I knew this. I'm sorry I wasted your time by applying. I will be in touch in the near future. Thank you again, sir. And thank you for all you do. And that's what I'm talking about. That feeling of I'm not worthy yet. I'm not good enough yet. And this was what I said to him. I'm blunt because I care about men. I care about their future. And I've been in this guy's situation. Can you give me some more detail? I'm confused by your text. Sounds like you're not ready for whatever reason due to habits you're trying to eradicate. And here's a quick coaching moment for you. Don't start cooking dinner when you're starving. In other words, don't put off your best life now because you think you have to eradicate bad habits before stepping forward. I've been doing this work a long time, and men who wait and don't take action are usually digging themselves into further trouble. So that's what I can tell you what's going on with most men in their mind before they do. Like, I'm just not good enough yet. And that's wrong, because what I can tell you out of the 400 guys that do life with us, we are all a bunch of imperfect knuckleheads and we make mistakes every day. I'll get off this podcast right now and go yell at my kids. In fact, we might be recording and I'll go do it, but I still everybody makes mistakes.
Sure.
The cool thing is that you have a sounding board, you have a community that when these mistakes happen, you have strategies and ways that you can go correct it and course correct. And the most important thing is you learn ways to prevent it. You have a higher percentage of preventing bad things happening if you learn the skills. If you never learn the skills, you're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So that's what I would say. It's guys not feeling like they're worthy, which frustrates the heck out of me because we're all imperfect. We're all flawed. We're all a bunch of screw ups. But the thing that I'll tell you about the guys in the mastermind is they are hungry, very, very, very hungry. They're just, I want to learn. How do I do this? Let me know. Is this right? How can I pivot? So that's the difference. And then your other question, not ready for a mastermind, but how do I start these conversations? This is a big one, man. And you and I can talk like face to face, like dudes, right? So if I come up to you and I'm like, yeah, man, I need to talk to you about my feelings. I'm feeling emotional lately, right? And I need to talk. You're gonna be like, what's wrong with you, man? Right? So if you want to create a relationship with a guy that you maybe have identified as somebody like, I could probably get along with that dude. I could probably have better conversations with him. You pick whatever it is that you feel like you're not great at. Like, I'm not really good at finances. I see that this guy, I think he's pretty good with finances. Like, from what I can tell, this is how you start that conversation. You've got to be authentic first and vulnerable first. And that doesn't look like what I just showed you. It's like, hey man, I need to talk to you about something that's really ailing me. I don't know. What you do is like, hey man, you and I have kind of been acquaintances for a while, and I've watched you and I admire you. I respect you. And here's the thing, man, I have never learned how to manage my money properly. And I see you and I know that you're doing good things. And every time I hear you talk about money, you really seem to understand what you're doing. You're very intentional. You're very purposeful. Can you just give me some nuggets on that? Like, teach me a few things that I can do. Now, what I just did in that conversation is I was real with you. So not everything was good and fine and good, which made me authentic, which made you like me more, because people don't relate to perfection. They relate to realness. And I just complimented you because you have a skill set that I recognize that I would love for you to be able to help me with. And what do men love to do? Contribute and be significant in somebody else's life. They want to be able to teach and be significant in somebody else's life. And you're like, dude, heck yeah, this is how we do it. And what that did is that now created a better relationship between you and I. And that probably opened the door for you to be like, you know what? Now that you mentioned finances, like, I noticed you've got a lot of patience with your boys, man. And my boys drive me nuts. Like, I feel like I lose my cool on them all the time. I might be good with money, but patience is not one of my strengths. Like, how do you do it? Now, what we've done there, we've both been real with each other. That's the beginning of a trusted advisor relationship, but you got to be willing to go first. And you have to do it, I think, in a masculine way, not a stoic, non-feeling, bearded, we don't feel our feelings, but in a way where you're asking for advice from something you admire about that other guy.
It's awesome. We just had Neil just commented and said, authenticity is the best way to connection and ultimately serving others. Love this. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, and that idea of authenticity, I think, is sometimes like misunderstood, or the word is used so often, but really, like, for me, when I talk about being authentic, it's just being real with somebody. Right. Okay. So if you're just tuning in, watching this, Larry has shared some things that really, like, the thing I love about your conversation, Larry, is totally different than any guests we've had on so far. Just this topic of like self-isolation is the enemy of excellence. It's like, look, there's no usefulness in not self-isolating yourself. Like, you want to be around other people that are better than you in certain areas, or that achieved more than certain areas, or that have like done more development on themselves in certain areas. And you want to be around people that you're chasing. Like, I love that when you talked about like someone that I can chase and like is going to like raise me to their level, and the power of having a board of advisors as a dad, or, everything we're talking about that Larry shares is through the lens of dad, but it applies to all of us. Right. So we've talked about like how self-isolation, especially in a time like this, when we're kind of, in some ways being encouraged to self-isolate, like how important it is to not self-isolate, how important it is to have a board of advisors and people that you can, not only that you can get ideas and advice from, but people that love you enough and are committed enough to you to be like, hey dude, like, the way you're showing up right now for your family, like, it's not great. Like, it doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, based on what I know about you and what I know you say you're committed to, people that are committed enough to call you out. So yeah, would love for you to, like, if you're watching this, tag someone again that you want as one in your board of advisors, or someone that you already look to, as a board of advisor type, an advisor mentor to you, and then start a watch party in this. Okay. So,
and if you have any questions, anyone watching this, we want to make this, have you get the most out of it that you can. So post any questions and we'll have Larry answer them right here while he's live.
So the last thing, Larry, something we ask all of our guests, we don't prepare them ahead of time that we're going to ask them these questions, just because I want to see just what comes out, what's present. This idea, our mission with Family Brand is we believe that every family can define what it is they stand for, and they can declare what it is they're going to be known for, rather than just allowing that to just happen. And they can do that by creating their family's brand, no differently than an organization would, or an entrepreneur. But it's interesting, we're oftentimes more intentional about the brand and the culture of our organization or our business or our career than the culture and the brand of our own home and our family. So if you had to say, like, the one thing that the Hagner family stands for more than anything, like if you had to boil it down to one thing, what comes up for you as the thing that you guys stand for more than anything?
That's a good one, but I can answer that. We just released a swag line, and it's called Live Legendary. And that is what we stand for. So like, okay. So let me give you a couple of examples of how that shows up. Okay. My family is against what we call the drift. Now, do we drift every now and again? Sure. And what's the drift, right? The drift is where you're on automatic pilot. You're in the wash, rinse, repeat. You're not soaking in the moments that are happening right there in front of you. And you're not intentionally planning to make moments happen. things are just happening to you and you're
Yeah.
kind of either in it or you're not. Living legendary. So I'll give you an example. Okay. I took my 12-year-old out for dinner last night and I wanted to teach him something. He was down. He was depressed. He was really, this quarantine has really started to mess with him. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Hang on 1 second. See, I mean, drunk people. So this quarantine was really starting to mess with him. And I was like, and our waiter kept coming over and he was in a mask and he was very nice guy, probably in his early 30s or so. And I said, Mason, let's live legendary right now. The best way to get out of a mental and emotional funk is to live legendary and to do something out of kindness and generosity that somebody else doesn't expect. And it can show up in a letter you want to write somebody. It could show up in an unexpected text message or email. It could show up and you just put a gift for something in the mail for someone just because. I was like, but I have an idea. This restaurant just opened up yesterday. This restaurant's been closed for 2 months. I would bet that this poor guy, that this is his full-time gig. And I bet without a doubt, this guy financially is hurting right now. And I think we should give him a really nice tip. What do you think we should give him? And he thought about it. And I was like, and by the way, before you answer that, I'll give 80% of the tip, but you have to give 20%. So you've got skin in this game. And he's like, ooh, okay. And he's 12. He's like, well, let's ask him for his story. And then, is this okay, by the way?
Totally. We've had our 3-year-old out of here multiple times.
Okay. Hey, don't fall. So I said to him, I was like, let's do this first. Let's just ask him how he's doing. Okay. Just human to human. I bet he hasn't been asked that in forever. So he came over. I was like, hey man, like, is this your full-time gig? And he's like, yeah, it is. I was like, well, this place has been closed for 2 months. Like, how's that impacted you? He's like, and this guy took a deep breath and he goes, I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. And he got choked up. He's like, I'm on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. I'm about ready to lose my truck. This is my full-time gig. And we can only allow people in here for, only so many people at a time. And he's like, but you know what? I'm gonna be okay. I was in the army. I was in Afghanistan for 2 years. Like, I've seen the worst things imaginable. And I can deal with this. So I was like, that's awesome. I was like, so you're really in a good mood. You're in a positive mind frame, like despite everything going on. He's like, yeah, he's like, I can either be a victim or I can be a survivor. He walked away and I looked at Mason and I was like, how are we going to live legendary with that? He's like, we're going to give him $100. And I was like, really? We're going to give him $100? And he's like, yeah, here's my 20. I pulled $80 out of my wallet. I handed it to Mason. I said, you give it to him. And I want you to tell him why you're giving it to him. And I don't want you to give him any pity. That's the only coaching I'm going to give you. Don't give him pity like, hey, I'm sorry you're going through a bad time. I want you to share something that inspired you that he said. And I let it go. And Mason handed the money over to him and he said, this is $100. It's $100 because your story is so inspiring. And no matter what's going on in your life, you still gave us good service. You're a good man. And this guy got choked up. And he was like, you have no idea how much this means to me. Like, this literally made my week. I'm actually getting kind of choked up talking about it. And we got out to the car. I didn't say anything. And I was like, Mason, how'd that feel? What did that feel like? He's like, and he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he goes, that was legendary. And I'll never forget that. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. You can either, and I asked him, and I'll finish with this. I asked him, I was like, what did that do for your mental state of feeling down and depressed and stressed out about this? He's like, I feel on top of the world right now. So that's living legendary. And you don't have to give $100 for it. You can just seize a moment and do something unexpected. You can say something unexpected. You can do something that you didn't even plan. So that's living legendary.
That's awesome.
I love that story.
You kind of answered two of the questions, which is one is what do you stand for? What do you want to be known for? And I kind of hear that in both. Last question is if you could say the kind of culture that you're creating in your home, or you're committed to create with one word, a culture of, like, what do you guys feel like the culture you're committed to creating a culture of what in your home?
In our home, we are creating a space for psychological safety, where people can say whatever's on their mind. There's no such thing as bad emotions. Emotions just are. If you're angry, it's okay. If you're sad, it's okay. If you're happy, that's okay. There's no right or wrong when it comes to emotions. When it comes to family, what we want to create is a place where, oh my God, it just hit the fan, I need to call my dad. Not, oh my God, it just hit the fan and I can't tell my dad. That's what we want to create. We want to create this environment where our kids feel very safe to make mistakes, because this is where you make them. This is where you make them. One other thing that I'll tell you too is my kids will learn how to love their wife how I love their mom. And I love that woman. My goal is to gross out my children at least once a day. And I achieve that. I actually overachieve that. So, and I'm okay with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Live legendary. I love the idea of like creating a culture of safety, right? Where people can, and like having a relationship with your boys where like they want to call you. So again, for those of you tuning in, like amazing nuggets that Larry shared. I encourage you guys to start a watch party, tag some of this. So we actually have one question from Neil. He said, had our third child in March. It's his first boy. He says, I'm excited to have a man cub now, but I'm also concerned about raising him to be a stalwart example. Would love to know your thoughts whenever you have time on raising legendary sons.
That's a good one. How we raise legendary sons is we live legendary and be that example, right? First thing you got to do, I show my kids how to love a woman by how I love their mom. Most people will put their kids first before their spouse. I don't, and neither does my wife. My wife is my priority. My kids come second. They're right there, like right underneath, but she is first and I'm her first. The other thing too is creating an environment of psychological safety where your son can screw up and he wants to go to you. And you do that by when your kids screw up, that you can handle it. You are the lighthouse in the storm. The storm might be brewing, thunder might be crashing and waves are coming in, but the lighthouse is there. Okay. That's one thing. Teach him about money management. Our society is terrible with money, and that's because we've never learned money management. I took my 14-year-old, 12-year-old 6 months ago to my financial advisors, and my kids have started investing now. And they know everything about compound interest. They know the power of saving early, and they know the power of saving aggressively. Teach them that. I open up my entire monthly budget to those kids. They know every bit of money that we have. They know all of our bills and everything. I'm okay with that because they need to know that. Money management is key. Taking care of your health. We eat nutritious foods most of the time. Sometimes we don't, and that's okay, right? There's got to be balance. But overall, my wife is fit. I'm fit. We're a healthy family. We take our health very seriously. And the final thing that I'll say is, if you're a spiritual person, you are the faith leader in your house. Kids are going to learn and get to know God through you, and they're going to see how you operate. And if that is in your wheelhouse and that's something that you believe in, don't go halfway on that. Have conversations about God, have conversations about the Bible, have conversations about your faith, be able to answer questions. That's important. And I'll stop there.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything you stand for and you're teaching men.
Yeah. One of the things that, we talk about, so in the family brand course that's coming of how to create your family's brand, there's really 3 pillars. There's culture, language, and experiences. And then we break those down. And the second pillar under culture is leadership. And I heard a great quote one time about leadership that's, you can teach, and if you have to, use words. And this idea that like the most powerful thing you teach is your demonstration. And like mission, vision, values actually don't mean anything if we don't provide space for them to actually be lived. And so that idea of demonstration, and then, yeah, that's a huge focus of mine and Melissa's. It's like, I don't know that we're doing perfect at it. I know that we're not, but one of our mission family values is Smiths can talk about anything without judgment. And that's really a goal of ours is, man, can we create the type of culture and space where our children want to come? Like, not only like, are they willing to, but like you said, I love that, like that they want to come talk to you when things are challenging. They want to come talk to you when things are difficult. And there's that space where and they know that not only do you want them to, but they're not going to be judged for it, and they're going to be, accepted. So Larry, thank you so much for coming on. Larry Hagner, founder of the Dad Edge Alliance, has a book called The Dad Edge, and just everything he shared today around the power of like not being in self-isolation, especially as a dad, and the power of having a board of advisors and having people around you that you're having to chase that are allowing you to become better. And just some of the examples you shared of like the stories and like the experiences you're creating with your kids and with your 12-year-old son yesterday. And it's just amazing. So if you're watching this, start a watch party. Again, I think what would be so cool if you're watching this is tag some people in your life that you either want to have, like use this as an opportunity to tag someone like you really look up to that could be part of your board of advisors, or tag someone that is in your board of advisors that you really look up to in an area of your life. And Larry, you've shared so many nuggets there. Anything in closing you would share that would make the biggest difference from your perspective for dads or families?
Man, I think we covered it. I think we did a good job of like raking the comb over a lot of details. So that was fun. Yeah. You guys are great hosts, by the way. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good energy.
Well, thank you. And then also, I know that, is there anything like resources, anything that like you would want our community to go check out with the Dad Edge Alliance that would serve them or make a difference for them?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple links. You can find everything we do at gooddadproject.com.
Gooddadproject.com.
Yeah, gooddadproject.com. If you're interested in the Alliance, you could find that at gooddadproject.com/alliance. But I think most importantly, most men, what is on their heart, mind, and soul of what they're really wanting to fine tune is that relationship with that lovely lady in their life. And there are ways around that. There's 4 elements to a legendary marriage: self-care, friendship, partnership, and lovers. And what I can tell you is that we've got something for you guys. It's just a quick ebook. If you go to gooddadproject.com/intimacy, you can find just some very simple, basic ways. It's actually a chapter out of the Dad Edge book. So it was written a while ago, but it will give you some very basic things, easy things to do when it comes to men. We need easy. You can pick that up there. It's just it's not for sale or anything. It's free. So you can go download it. gooddadproject.com/intimacy.
It's amazing. Well, thank you again, Larry. Anything else, Mus, you can think?
No, thank you.
Yeah, this was awesome, you guys. You guys are great hosts.
Well, I love the fact that, again, that you spoke on a topic today that we haven't had any guests speak on. And I love that you spoke specifically to men and husbands and fathers. It's powerful. Thank you guys for watching. We're so grateful to have people like Larry. They're willing to come on the Connection series and help families be more connected than ever at a time like this. So please start a watch party, share this. You can go to Facebook, type in Family Brand Community. We'd love to have you in our Facebook group, and we have a gift for you, a course. And thanks again, Larry.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Okay.